Hello.
Hello, police.
Yeah, what's the problem, sir?
We just drove down our farm track.
Yeah.
Go and feed our pheasants. We come across a Range Rover with 3 people in it.
Yeah.
It appears that they're dead. I don't know what's happening. Blood in the motor all over them.
The following newspaper article comes from the 17th of May 1996 with the headline Dragnet. Detectives investigating the gangland killings of 3 southeast Essex drug barons have arrested 6 men, including the brother of slain gangster Patrick Tate, on suspicion of importing drugs. The 6, 5 from Essex and 1 from Suffolk, were all due to appear in court in Chelmsford on Wednesday morning this week, charged with conspiracy to import cannabis resin. A statement issued on Tuesday morning by Essex Police confirmed that 6 would appear individually before Chelmsford magistrates on Wednesday, May the 15th. They are Russell Tate, 34, from Benfleet, 31-year-old Darren Nichols and Colin Bridge, 40, both from Braintree, Michael Steele, 53, of Great Bentley near Clacton, Peter Corey, 44, of Clacton, and Jack Womes, 35, of Brockford, Suffolk. The men were arrested on Monday in Benfleet, Braintree and Ipswich, Suffolk. An Essex Police spokesman said, "These arrests follow extensive inquiries by detectives investigating a triple murder in Essex, working with Customs and the South East Regional Crime Squad. It is believed that police may be considering bringing further charges against the suspects." A team of detectives has been investigating the deaths of Craig Rolfe, Tony Tucker and Patrick Tate, whose bodies were found in Rolfe's Range Rover on a farm track just off the A130 road in Rettendon last December. The murdered trio, all known criminals involved with the drug scene in southeast Essex, are believed to have been blasted in cold blood with a shotgun at a secret meeting near White House Farm, Rettendon, on Wednesday, the 6th of December. The next article comes from the 20th of May 1996, with the headline, Rettendon Murders, 2 charged. 2 men have appeared before magistrates charged with the triple gangland killings of 3 Essex drug barons in Rettendon last year. Amid tight security, the men were remanded at a special hearing at Chelmsford Magistrates Court on Saturday. Michael Steele, 53, of St Mary's Road, Great Bentley, and Jack Womes, 35, of Main Road, Brockford, Suffolk, were jointly charged with the murders of Craig Rolfe, Patrick Tate, and Anthony Tucker in a Range Rover in a farm track at Rettendon on December the 6th. In a dramatic twist, the men were arrested on Monday with Pat Tate's younger brother Russell and 3 others in connection with a £30,000 drug smuggling ring. Steele and Womes were charged with the murders on Saturday morning. Steele was also charged with the possession of a 6-shot pump-action shotgun. Steele was remanded to appear at Southend Court on June the 14th. Womes also faced 3 charges of conspiracy with others to import cannabis. He has been remanded in custody until May the 24th to appear at Southend Magistrates Court. Darren Nichols, 31, of Bailey Bridge Road, Braintree, appeared on 2 charges of conspiracy to import cannabis with Steele, Womes and others. In a separate hearing at Chelmsford Magistrates on Saturday, Tate's younger brother Russell was charged with 2 counts of conspiracy to import cannabis. 5 others were also charged with drug smuggling. They were Paul Gwinnett, 49, Colin Bridge, 40, Craig Androliakos, 21, Sarah Darlaston, 21, and Peter Corey, 44. Tate was remanded to appear before Southend Magistrates on May the 24th. Detectives said that further arrests were imminent. We now turn our attention to a newspaper article which discusses the death of John Marshall. This was dated the 23rd of May 1996, with the headline, Police Probe Gang Killing. Detectives were last night investigating a gangland-style execution after a body believed to be that of a missing Essex motor dealer was found in his Range Rover. And it was revealed that they were liaising with officers working on other major investigations, including the triple shooting at Rettendon last year. Police were unable to positively confirm the man's body was that of 35-year-old John Marshall as they moved it to Essex from South East London under heavy security. But sources last night suggested that the victim was the missing motor dealer and that he had suffered gunshot wounds in an apparent gangland-style execution. A post-mortem was due to be carried out late last night. Asked if detectives were considering any links with the triple shooting at Rettendon near Chelmsford last year, an Essex Police spokesman said, We have got no direct evidence that Mr. Marshall was connected in any way with the drugs world. We will obviously be following up that line of inquiry, along with other lines of inquiry. It is understood that officers are liaising with colleagues on other major investigations, of which Rettendon is only one. 2 men appeared before Chelmsford magistrates at the weekend, charged with the murders of Patrick Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe. Mr. Marshall's black G registration Range Rover was found at Sydenham, South East London yesterday at 9:15 a.m. A covered dead body was found inside. A police spokesman said that although the body was discovered in the Metropolitan Police District, Essex officers would be handling the investigation. Mr. Marshall, a motor trader from Billericay, went missing a week ago while carrying around £5,000 in cash. He was last heard of heading for Kent in his Range Rover, although the reason for the trip is not known. His wife Tony grew concerned for his well-being after he failed to contact her or any of his 3 children and missed his 35th birthday celebrations last Saturday. The next newspaper article comes from the 24th of May 1996, with the headline, "Killer left £5,000 in victim's vehicle." Murdered car dealer John Marshall was shot twice by his killer and dumped under bales of straw in the boot of his own Range Rover. Police have said Mr. Marshall, 35 of Billericay, is understood to have been murdered on the same day he disappeared, shot once in the head and once in the chest. Essex Police, who moved the body and black car from a residential street in Sydenham, South East London for forensic examination, said the killer left behind £5,000 on the dashboard. Detective Superintendent Mike Gamble said the type of firearm used had still to be established, but it was not a shotgun. Police would not link the shooting with recent cases in Essex. 2 people have recently been charged with a gangland-style execution of 3 known drug dealers last December in Rettendon. But Mr. Gamble said that in Essex car-dealing circles, it was unlikely that Mr. Marshall had not met at least one of the victims in the course of business. One of the men killed last year was Pat Tate, a known ecstasy dealer who also worked in the car trade. Detective Gamble said, "Mr. Marshall was a businessman, and we have nothing to suggest he was anything other than an honest man. His past does not seem to be relevant to this investigation." Mr. Marshall, a father of 2 daughters aged 13 and 3 and a 6-year-old son, left home last Wednesday after telling his wife Tony, 33, he was going to Kent on business. Police are now checking roadside cameras at the Dartford Tunnel and other Thames River crossings in the hope of spotting a distinctive vehicle. Detective Superintendent Gamble said that Marshall kept several horses and the Range Rover was used to carry straw for the animals. Both car and body were loaded onto a transporter and moved to a forensic site at South Woodham Ferrers. Forensic experts were going over the vehicle inch by inch yesterday looking for clues. Detective Superintendent Gamble said that Mr. Marshall had been shot in areas which suggest there was no running. There is nothing to suggest that he had been tied up. The killing could be because of a car deal went wrong, but we have to interview his business associates and many other people to try and find a motive. The motive is crucial to this case. Detective Superintendent Gamble added, "Mrs. Marshall has been living in hope for a week and that hope was shattered yesterday. She is in a state of shock. She will cooperate fully with this investigation when she is able." The following article comes from the 6th of January 1997 with the headline, "Triple Murder Informant Branded a Judas." Supergrass Darren Nichols has been branded a Judas in the Rettendon triple murder trial at the Old Bailey. He bought and sold drugs, then informed on dealers to police, said defence lawyer Graham Parkins QC. Mr. Parkins added that Nichols, the star prosecution witness, framed Jack Womes and Michael Steele for the ruthless execution of 3 drug barons. The trio were gunned down as they sat in a Range Rover after being lured to an isolated snow-covered farm track in the village of Rettendon in December 1995. Mr. Parkins said that Nichols, who claimed to be the getaway driver, gave evidence as though butter would not melt in his mouth. However, he was a devious, cunning and complex man, who was concerned only in lining his own pocket and saving his own skin, Mr. Parkins told the jury. He said it would be dangerous to convict 36-year-old Womes and Steele, 55, of the murders on the evidence given by Nichols. He continued, "Nichols is a liar, and without his evidence the Crown has absolutely no case." The barrister said there was no forensic evidence to show Steele and Womes were involved in the murders. There were no footprints, fingerprints or car tyre marks to link them with the gruesome deaths. The prosecution claims that the killings happened after Steele fell out with one of the victims, Tate, over a cannabis deal that went wrong. It is alleged that Nichols drove the two men from the murder scene without realising what had happened. The claim was made by prosecutor Andrew Munday QC, who said Nichols had no reason to lie or confess to the police that he was the driver. Mr. Munday added, "There are errors and mistakes in his evidence, but there is also a very strong ring of truth about it." He said Nichols had nothing to gain in giving evidence against Womes of Brockford, Suffolk, and Steele of Great Bentley, Essex. The two deny murdering Pat Tate, 37, of Gordon Road, Basildon, Tony Tucker, 38, of High Road, Fobbing, and Craig Rolfe, 26, of Calshot Avenue, Chafford 100. Womes and Steele also plead not guilty to conspiracy to smuggle cannabis along with Peter Corey of London Road, Clacton. The trial continues today when the judge begins his summing up. The following newspaper article comes from the 3rd of September 1997 with the headline, "The Deadly Sting." Two drug smugglers executed 3 associates in a dispute over a shipment of poor quality cannabis, a court heard yesterday. Patrick Tate, 37, Anthony Tucker, 38, and Craig Rolfe, 26, were killed as they waited in a Range Rover on a remote farm track in Essex. They had been lured there on the promise of a substantial future cocaine deal, Andrew Munday QC prosecuting told the Old Bailey jury. As they sat unsuspecting in the car on a snowy night in December 1995, fellow dealers Michael Steele and Jack Womes shot them dead, the court heard. With cold and merciless efficiency, Steele and Womes shot dead the 3 through the head. Mr. Munday said that Womes, 36, of Brockford, Suffolk, and Steele, 55, of Angers Green, Great Bentley, deny murder. They and a third man, Peter Corey, from Clacton-on-Sea, also deny conspiring with others to import cannabis into the UK in late 1995. As Steele and Womes left the scene, they laughed as they started dismantling the gun, one of which had started to fall apart during the shooting. Mr. Munday said that the pair were involved in a very, very lucrative trade, he added. They obtained drugs on the continent, almost exclusively in Holland, then smuggled them in on a fast, open-top boat to the east coast of this country under the cover of darkness. Mr. Munday, working for the prosecution, said the dead men were not angels, but notwithstanding their past, they had a right to live, he said. Steele claimed there had been a series of disputes between himself and Tate over the quality of some drug consignments. Steele had heard that Tate was claiming he had not been refunded after it was decided to dump some of the drugs. Quote, "He said he heard that Tate was threatening to make him beg on his knees and admit he had not been repaid. He would then kill Steele. Whether this was actually accurate does not matter at all," Mr. Munday told the jury. He said Steele and Womes had decided to eliminate that threat once and for all. They planned the executions together, and they kept the details to themselves. They lured Mr. Tate and his 2 friends to a meeting on the promise of involving them in a substantial cocaine importation. The story spun was that Steele was to fly in a consignment. He put forward the notion he and others would intercept that consignment, kill the courier if necessary, and take it for themselves. Of course, there was never to be such an importation, but Tate bit on the hook. Mr. Munday said the dispute over the poor quality cannabis had prompted the murders. Dealing in drugs is not an honourable trade, he told the jury. It is often the province of the double cross, the sting and double dealing. They are all stock in trade for those who deal in drugs. Not for them the protection of the law or going to the local county court to pursue a claim if there is something wrong in a drugs consignment they have bought. They are beyond the law, as a result of which the remedies they take are sometimes themselves lawless. Even when a consignment is honest, there is a degree of distrust. It often breeds threats, from which there are often acts of violence, and from them sometimes the direst of all acts of violence, the killing of someone. The jury was told that a farmer was the first to stumble across the murder scene. At first he thought the 3 men were asleep in the car. He tried to rouse them. It did not take him long to realise to his horror that the men were not sleeping, but dead, said Mr. Munday. The bodies were all in a relaxed position. Rolfe was still holding the steering wheel, while Tucker was in the front passenger seat, mobile phone still in hand. Tate was slumped across the back seat. It was later discovered that the victims had been shot a total of 8 times. Firearms experts believe that a single pump-action shotgun was probably used. The trial continues. Many thanks for joining me for today's video. In front of you in a few moments' time, you'll see some other videos from the channel, so please feel free to check those out at your leisure. And also the Essex Boys playlist, which has all of the videos concerning this case from this channel in one convenient folder. I look forward to seeing you all again in the next video. Take care. Cheers.